People coach the way they were coached. And if you coach the way you were coached and you were emotionally abused, then you become an emotional abuser without realizing that's what's happening. Hey there, I'm Coach Rebecca, and I have been inspired to go live today to talk about something that I hate talking about, that I end up talking about all the time because it's so prominent in youth sports, and this is toxic training environments. And I have a lot of consultations with athletes every week, and at least once a week, I talk to an athlete who is being emotionally abused by her coach. Sorry for this bummer topic, but it's really important because I talk to people, they're just like, well, this is just the way it is. This is just the way it is. And it does not have to be that way. And it's so hard to overcome a fear when you feel emotionally unsafe in your training environments. What I'm going to do is give you red flags. So just tune in and listen and give yourself a point for each one of these that is happening in your training environment. And if you are experiencing these often, then it's time to actually potentially do something about it. Okay. So this is based on an interview I did with Shelba Waldron, who was the director of education and training for Safe Sport for USA Gymnastics at the time. This was a few years ago, but I was like, Shelba, how do we know if it's abuse or if it's just old school coaching? And so this is what she told me. These are the questions to ask yourself. Number one, does your child or you report feeling scared or anxious to attend practice? So you get those stomach aches, you get anxious, you don't want to go. You know your kid loves the sport, but they don't want to go sometimes. And there's like physical manifestations of anxiety that are happening. Okay. The second one is, does the child blame themselves? Saying things like, well, he was right. I did fall. I deserved it. And I heard today on a call that the coach was blaming them. Well, you're not going for skills. So of course I'm going to not make you my favorite. Of course I'm not going to coach you if you can't do your skills. So this blaming. Another one is, are you encouraged or expected to perform when injured? I hear a lot of times kids say, well, my coach says you're fine, just shake it off or stop making excuses. Well, if that's happening repeatedly, it's actually an indicator of emotional abuse. Being required or encouraged or expected to perform while you're injured is abusive. Looking at you, Bella Caroli at Carrie Strug in the 96 Olympics. That was abusive. She was encouraged to compete. Although I know some athletes are like, I'll do what I want to. I've done everything to be here. I will do this skill. But the coach should in no way be the one encouraging. Their job is to say, sorry, you're hurt. I can't let you do this. I can't let you injure yourself for this. Okay, the next one, is there a high turnover on the team because of a coach? Person I talked to today, she said half her team left this summer. And that's a huge red flag. If people are leaving because of this coach, it's not your fault. It's something that they're doing is driving people away. Are there frequent injuries that would cause a reasonable person to be concerned about the coaching techniques? Now, a lot of these behaviors are perpetuated because people coach the way they were coached. And if you coach the way you were coached and you were emotionally abused, then you become an emotional abuser without realizing that's what's happening. And there were things that I did during my time in the gym that would fall onto this list. Now, the thing that makes it distinct is, are they happening often? Everybody's injured all the time. That is a red flag that the coaching practices are not putting humans and health first. Okay, the next one is, has there been reports to the club management that have been dismissed or ignored? Often, the toxic training environment, the head coaches are the owners. So there's no oversight. So they do whatever they want. There's no one firing them. They can run their ship however they want. But in the case that there is a separate management ownership, you've gone and you've talked to the coaches, nothing has changed. You've gone and talked to the ownership and it was dismissed or ignored. That's a toxic environment that is a breeding ground for emotional abuse. Does the coach use hateful, discriminatory, or belittling language? And the things that I have heard said to children by adults nauseate me. And these are, quote unquote, high performing gyms that are really good coaches. And even the girl I talked to today, she's like, but they've given me really good form and I won and I was on the state team. They have given me technical gymnastics, but yet this extremely capable athlete is struggling with fear because she feels so unsafe. She's unsafe to even emote in her floor routine without being shamed or made fun of. And this will make an athlete who is very capable start to crumble. Do the parents feel fear of retaliation? Parents, have you thought, I should say something, but I don't want them to take it out on my kid if I do? That is very good information. If you fear that you giving feedback to somebody that you're paying to take care of your child, if you fear that they're going to retaliate against your child if you give them feedback, that's very helpful to know in the course of going, is this where I want my child to be spending their time? Does the coach seem to isolate athletes from their parents or other teammates? Picking favorites is so rampant in this type of a coach that if you are not performing, you're not the favorite and you are isolated. You're not getting coaching, you're not getting attention. Your trio has a different name, like the chickens or the scaredy cats, or they're just ignored. That's emotional abuse. Does the coach try to make medical education or other decisions that isn't part of their job? When I was doing gymnastics in the 90s, this was what they did. Talk to the doctor, AKA the coach, and he'll tell you what you need to do. And he'll tell you if you should just go for it and you're fine. There's just this assumption that because you're a gymnastics coach, you're also a doctor. They'll have things like someone goes to the doctor says you need to take 2 weeks off, and the coach says, that's not right, you're fine, just go ahead and go. That's emotional abuse. Also, physical abuse. Does the coach encourage the athletes to miss school functions, church functions, dates, or family vacations to be at the gym? Now, I know there are going to be some people who are like, you can't just go to every single event and never go to Saturday practice. Correct. And there are gyms in this world, one of them that I love dearly, where the head coach and owner said, okay, looks like your grandma's 80th birthday and regionals are on the same weekend. Be with your grandma. She only turns 80 once. There are more regionals. That's the type of coaching that exists out there. And then of course the kid could go, I love you, grandma. This means a lot to me. I'll make it up to you and do it in a different way. But there was no pressure coming from the coach of what that child was going to decide. It was completely in their court. And if a coach says, well, if you miss regionals, then I'm not coaching you, or, whatever, they make these decisions based on coach ego. And you're not going to make me look good if you don't come and if you don't show up, and that's not about health and it's not about children. Next one, are basic needs denied until something is accomplished? For example, our athletes refuse bathroom breaks, water, sunscreen, protective equipment, or meals as punishment. Now, I had a moment where a girl was like, I need to go to the bathroom. I was like, you always need to go to the bathroom when we're on floor. No, you can't go. And she literally threw up all over the floor moments later. And I felt like such a jerk because I was like, oh my gosh. She said she needed to go to the bathroom. Like, the answer is always yes. The answer should be yes. If somebody says, I need water, I need to go to the bathroom, it really does not matter what you think they should be doing. If their needs are not being met, that's abusive. I know it's a fine line, but I will never forget that moment where I was like, oh, you're always asking for something. You're always making excuses. But why did I think that? Because that's the way I was coached. And then, like I mentioned a couple times, is this ongoing and not a one-time incident? Obviously, that girl puked on the floor and I apologized profusely and I checked in with her parent and was like, wow, I learned something. And if somebody asked me to go to the bathroom, the answer is always yes. So I evolved. We all make mistakes. We all lose our temper. We all say things that we regret later on. What makes it abusive is that it's happening over and over and over and over. Okay, and then the final one is, our words of absolute used, such as always, never, and everyone, nobody, etc. For example, no college team is ever going to want you. You're not good enough. I have heard that quote from coaches of an athlete who then gets a D1 scholarship, but they were being dragged down and dragged down and dragged down in this emotionally abusive environment. So if you have said yes to more than a few of those, the move is actually to report to Safe Sport. Now, I know you're going to go, well, Safe Sport doesn't do anything. Okay, fine. But let's create the paper trail. If there's one more report against this coach, if there's one more voice that could prevent another kid, if there's one person holding somebody accountable, I believe it's worth it. So you do that, and then you find a place to train that's going to nurture you or your child. Now, of course, the dad on the phone was like, but we already paid our fees and we already bought the leotard and we already are enrolled for all the meets. And I said, well, if it was me, I would pull my kid. But I probably would have pulled my kid, a long time ago, because I know what I know, which is why I want to get this information out there. This dad cares. He wants his kid to be happy doing the sport that she loves. And then, here comes me saying, this is not safe. This is not going to give your kid the confidence that they're looking for. Essentially, what I heard today is it's like a coach is sitting on a kid and being like, why can't you get up? What's wrong with you? You can't do your skills, but I'm not letting you have a mat. You can't do your skills, but the low beams are no longer allowed. You can't do your skills, but I'm not letting you do any progressions or any drills. They said there's no drills allowed. Like, how? How is it possible that this is still happening in this century? So if it is, here is what I recommend next. So here's how you leave. And this is based on interviews with a couple of really wonderful gym owners and Dave Tilley, who is the founder of Shift Movement Science. We've got Eric Vandermeer, who's the owner of San Francisco Gymnastics and Redwood Empire Gymnastics. And then Vahid, my friend who owns Unify Athletics in North Carolina. I was like, guys, what do we do? If you're trying to get out of there, what should people do? So here are the 3 steps you should take to find a place where you are not going to be abused. Number 1, visit the gym. And this is what Eric recommends, is actually go undercover. So you show up and you watch the team without them feeling the pressure of somebody watching. So you go in and you sit in the observation room and you watch and you look for a few things. One of them is the tone of voice when coaches are, talking to athletes. Are they using a teacher voice or are they yelling? How do they respond after a mistake or a fall? Do gymnasts get equal attention? Is it obvious that that's the group that's not getting attention and this one is the group of the hotshot stars? Do the coaches complement effort or just results? Are they looking for perfection or are they noticing that you're getting better? And if you're there and you pay attention, is there a debrief at the end? What's the tone of the conversation? And these are the types of things that will give you that overall feeling of, is this humans first or results first? Okay, then after that has felt okay, you meet with the owner or the head coach. And if you're still interested, you've gone in, you vibe checked, and you're like, okay, this could be good. Then you set up a meeting and you ask them about their values, their philosophy, their approach. And I'm going to give you a little list of questions, things that you can ask. So you can always save this and come back to it. What are your gym's core values? What type of ongoing training do your coaches receive? There are coaches out there, you guys, who do not go to Congress. They do not learn new drills. They believe they know everything. And even from when I retired from coaching 10 years ago, I feel like I walk into a gym and I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea how to coach a straight jump onto a vault table anymore because there's been so much technological advance in how gymnastics has improved over the decade. So if they are not doing ongoing education, that's a red flag. How do they help athletes experiencing mental blocks? If a coach here goes, I don't believe in mental blocks, turn around and walk out. That means they have a fixed mindset. They're not open to listening. How do you feel about conditioning as a punishment? That should be a absolute no-go. You want kids to want to build strength. What's your system for communication with parents and athletes? We don't communicate. Okay, bye. What's your policy on missed days, lessons, extra training, outside camps? Any place that does not allow an athlete to go to an outside camp, that's a red flag. Why would you not want another set of eyes, another set of information, other resources for that child to be successful? And if they're confused or they learn something that's different, they should come to you and you should talk about it. That's an awesome opportunity for you to be a better coach and understand what's your philosophy? What is your policy on spotting athletes? If you do not allow spots, period, that's a fixed mindset. We want an environment where it's based on the human, okay? It's not based on, these are our inflexible, arbitrary policies and it has to be this way or else, and we don't really have a good reason why. How are move-ups decided? How do you handle injuries? How do you help athletes who are struggling? Okay. And then also you want to know, what's the head coach's demeanor? Are they generous with their time? Are they patient or are they kind of feeling put out by this conversation? And remember that they're going to bring their best behavior to this meeting. So if there are any unsavory qualities, they will be absolutely amplified. And when they're working with the kids, there's no oversight and it's going to get worse. Okay. Dave Tilley recommends asking if it's okay to hang out and ask and, talk with parents after practice. Ask the team parents, what do you think about the gym? How are things done? Then you will know because you'll be able to get it straight from the source. And then consider asking questions that are important to you. Hey, parent, what do you do when you're experiencing an issue with the coach? And the way that all of those questions are answered is going to tell you, do I want to send my kid in for a trial practice? Okay. Then if you do, he'd recommend see what's the longest possible trial period that you could take. Will they let you come to multiple practices before committing? That way you get an opportunity to kind of the newness fades. You're going to see the real drama with the teammates. You're going to see, the coaches are going to start to become who they are on a day-to-day rather than if they have a trial. And then pay attention to these red flags. So blanket policies that lack flexibility, results first. If they're like, we win, we don't let kids move up till they get 339s. That's a red flag for me from a mental health perspective. And then make sure that there's a safe sport certification. So ultimately, it comes down to how your athlete feels, and everything that their coaches do should be in service of how does it make the athlete feel. And if they're doing something that makes the athlete feel bad on a regular basis, that's impacting confidence. And from my perspective, it is time to go shopping. So if this sounds like something that's happening in your gym, I encourage you to start, just looking around to see what are the other options. There are no perfect options. I know not everybody can drive 2.5 hours to get to a gym where you can be nurtured. But I believe that if we start holding gyms accountable and we start leaving places where kids are being abused, eventually they go out of business and then those people can't abuse anybody anymore. So we have to vote with our dollars as far as like what type of behavior are we going to accept in coaches that we're giving our children to for all of this quality time. So feel free to DM me. This is something I'm really passionate about. And let's see, a comment here. Some time ago, you told me what that coach is doing is abuse. I switched gyms. Can't thank you enough. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. That makes me so happy because then we have these incredible success stories of girls who are really good and they're just sad and they're scared. Sometimes it takes them getting kicked out by their abusive coach to finally find a new place. And then 2 weeks later, they're doing all their skills again. It's really incredible what happens if you're being nurtured in your training environment. So we have to demand more. DM me, send me an email, Rebecca@PerformHappy.com if you want to chat through, if you're not sure. I'm passionate about talking with people who feel like they might need help in this department. So don't feel like you're putting me out if you reach out to me and just say like, I need to vent. All right, you guys, thank you for listening. Really happy to put this out. I'm sad that I have to keep talking about it, but I'm happy that I get to be part of the solution. And so do you. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.